Everything's garbage.
Hey everybody, welcome to Insufferable Bastards. My name is Carlos Danger for the purposes of this broadcast, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Brian Spears. Hello, Brian.
Hello, hello.
All right, we got a very special guest. I am psyched. I am excited. We are the most boring podcast in the Dabbler adjacent universe, but not today, goddammit, because today we have Stevie Lew Lewis of Compound Media, Troma Films, and of the new movie podcast, Bluntsmoker Video.
Wow, you nailed it, brother. Thank you for doing your background research there. That's a good podcast host.
Thank you very much, Steve. And you're a good podcast host, man. Anybody that can wrangle Ski Mask Collective in those last couple of sad Chad ones you were involved with, you're freaking Pat Sajak. That was masterful.
Yeah, I think you're probably talking about the second one that I was involved with, where we had Carl from Who Are These Podcasts, and I think even Cardiff Electric was also on with Kevin Dumbfuck. I can say that, right? I'm okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kevin DF from Why Do I Podcast.
He's our enemy.
Yeah, go ahead. No, give him shit. I love it. Kevin was on with Ski Mask, and yeah, Ski Mask took a call from his doctor to refill his scripts without warning. So luckily I have had a little bit of experience in this world, and I was able to recognize the situation and jump right in and kind of save the show a little bit. I think it also really made it pretty funny. It was like a train wreck sort of thing.
It was great. I mean, I loved it.
It was riveting.
Yeah, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is like old school radio, but beyond. Because, and then the next week, Ski Mask is like, I don't even remember that. Sorry about that. The way he just played it off, I just loved it.
They didn't realize he had Carl on.
Well, can I give you guys, this is breaking down the fourth wall, but I'm fine with it. So Kevin Dumbfuck did the following week, and Ski Mask he reintroduced himself to him because he did not remember him being on the podcast the week before. So.
And one thing I wanted to say, and Brian's already breaking the rules, but I'm going to share a screen for a second, share a video, and this is how we do not want to treat Mr. Stevie Lew during this broadcast, okay? This is from one of the aforementioned Ski Mask. I was dying, but here we go.
Listen, I got some inside news, all right? That guy's a fucking fraud. That guy's a fraud.
Oh, okay, you're calling Cardiff out?
Yeah, he's not.
All right, good luck with that.
I sent him the link.
Disavow.
Let me get to my thing.
I'm disavowing, pre-disavowing.
Stevie Lew's on coke tonight.
No, Stevie Lew is not on coke. I loved how the interplay between you and Kevin Dumbfuck there, how he kept stepping on everything you tried to say. It was awesome.
Yeah. I was going for a joke there, and it was like, I told Ski Mask afterwards, I felt like fucking Superman trying to take off, and this guy comes and steps on my cape every time, so that's basically how it felt. And you know what? I encourage folks to check out Sad Chad, all of the Ski Mask guys programming, as well as Kevin Dumbfuck's, because I do believe I will be back next week for the episode of Sad Chad. I took a week break, but I feel like there's some unfinished business, especially with all the developments. So
and we'll talk about some of that.
Even though
you're breaking up a little there, Stevie.
It
just kind of went a little nuts. I like you're at Compound Media. What kind of Wi-Fi they have there at Compound Media, for God's sakes?
That's the issue. It's actually very secure, and I'm using my own laptop right now, so I am having access issues because they don't want people just tapping into the mainframe over here.
Gotcha.
I guess a lot of important high def video being vaulted here in the archives.
Freaking E-Rock. So. What are you ruining my podcast here? The other thing going on right now is just as we go live, I saw something on Twitter saying Kevin Brennan is going live. Not that we're live, but you know what I mean. We all rather be watching Kevin Brennan. But I wanted to talk first about your new podcast there, Bluntsmoker Video Podcast. I listened to, I think it was your latest episode about In the Mouth of Madness.
Ah, yes, that was our latest.
And so give us a taste of what the podcast is, how it came about, and who you do it with, Mr. Stevie Lew.
Sure. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that because we are still like I feel like we're in our pilot season right now. That's how I call it. That's how I see it. That podcast features myself and two really great Troma film alums and current Troma film producers, and just two overall really great guys, James Boylan and John Bergio. And those are two younger guys that I've worked on a bunch of different projects with. And we had just a really awesome rapport. We all like to smoke a lot of cannabis as well. And we have this thing where I get to like show these guys some films that I'm really up on that they're not so much up on, that have like a really cool psychedelic stoner feel to it without being like specifically stoner films, you know? So I'm just trying to blow their minds and get really high and discuss the production value while high. So I really don't think there's many other podcasts out there that do all those things at once, you know? We start off with a little intro where we get high, then we start watching the movie. And for the folks who haven't seen it out there, we don't do like a typical watch along where we like chime in with the film. What we do is we pause the podcast, watch the first half of the film off air, make notes, and then do a like half-time check-in where we smoke another blunt and talk about like the crazy shit that went down. A lot of times we get into like, which I love about it, is we get into the production aspect of it. And then, you know what, I can give you guys an exclusive right here. I just spoke with the boys this morning, and we've decided our holiday month, because we do once a month. We've decided our holiday movie. So is that okay if I release that information?
Yes, sir.
So for our holiday film, we will be doing Human Centipede 2.
I love those movies.
So
that's awesome.
So I have never seen any of them, which is probably surprising. I'm a little embarrassed to say that, but I've got good intel that Human Centipede 2 is like a remarkable masterpiece, work of art. I've been told that one broke it down like you wouldn't believe, and it's a must-see. So another Troma guy, Reeves Elliott, a director friend of mine, suggested the film. He agreed to come on and get high with us, and he doesn't really smoke that much, and we're going to do that next week. So that'll be coming out.
That'll be coming out in the next next month, right before Christmas. All right, it's already December. What am I saying? Yeah. So that'll be coming soon.
But yeah, those guys, they have their own podcast network called FantasyShed Podcast Network. Okay. They've got a really cool comedy cartoon breakdown show. They don't call it a review show. It's called Totally Tunular, TOONULAR. So yeah, you could see on the screen there, FantasyShed, one word podcast network. They're coming up on their 100th episode of Totally Tunular, where they break down a different cartoon each week. It's a tremendous show. I really recommend folks take a look at that if you're going to go check out Bluntsmoker video and the other podcasts on there. But yeah, that's just this really cool group of nerds, including myself, you know, that are big time pop culture fans, pretty knowledgeable, have had experience in this industry, and are
let's
sharing
listen to
it
a
with
clip,
the world.
Steve. Let's listen to you, if you don't mind. I know this can be awkward, but this is you talking about In the Mouth of Madness. And what I love about this is that you guys didn't like In the Mouth of Madness, because I don't know.
Look at this. There wasn't a lot like this.
True.
At the time, it's like a genre buster. It's a very like it has like an indie.
And this is right after, for anybody listening or watching, this is after the halftime thing that Stevie was talking about, when they come in and they're progressively higher and higher. But
I can hear myself
good
high as
conversation,
shit.
though.
Sort of horror feel to it. I feel
But again, this is like the perfect movie to watch under the influence. This movie's a head trip.
Didn't make it any better.
To more like, you know, sort of out there horror, because it's, you know, doesn't have a
Because to me, it's
monster. Doesn't have a specific monster.
With the horror writer in particular, like when he talks about being God, it's like
I love it. It's good. It's good stuff. So I just wanted to give people a little taste.
Yeah.
And also, like, I hate the fact, and maybe I'm a hater, whatever. I'm an old man. I'm 48 years old. There's all this retroactive love for In the Mouth of Madness. And you guys mentioned it on the podcast, how it's built sort of a cult reputation. And I just never saw it. I never saw it with that. I never saw it with Day of the Dead. I love Dawn of the Dead. I never saw it with Halloween 3. You know, there's all this revisionist history. So I like that you guys didn't feel pressure to say you like this movie because it's John Carpenter and blah, blah, blah.
It's funny that you say that, how like Dawn of the Dead still stands up, in my opinion,
hell yeah.
at least. But
Yeah.
Day of the Dead, not as much. I mean, I've watched the spiritual sequel to Dawn of the Dead, Zombie, You know, you got Full
Yeah.
Cheese Zombie. I know Brian knows. Brian could school me on that one there.
I don't like those movies, but
I don't think it holds up. I just watched Zombie the other day, and the music, like that, and that's the thing that Carpenter. To go back to Carpenter, he was such a sick musician. You got to listen to that. The credit song at the end of In the Mouth of Madness is John Carpenter just shredding on the guitar, you know, and those guys in Zombie were all about the synthesizers, the Moogs and stuff, which is really trippy shit, which that stuff is timeless, but the film itself is a little rough.
It gets creaky. Yeah,
creaky, like E-Rock's chair over here. I'm not sure if you could hear.
No. So that's Bluntsmoker video. That's Stevie Lew's podcast. Please check it out on Spotify. So changing gears, let's talk a little bit about how you got hooked up with Troma, because I guess you were in or had cameos in Shakespeare, Shitstorm, and then the latest one is The Secret of Cuck Island, right?
Yeah, that's correct. And we're in the process of filming the most latest project, which is called Bring on the Damned. That's Bring on the Damned's coming out in 2023. It's a 5-story anthology film, similar to your like Tales from the Crypts or your Freak Shows. And we're putting that together now. It's a complete indie, bare bones, no budget, low budget sort of project that's coming out looking great, but it's been tough to get all of the free help and the locations and the equipment all together, because we don't have a budget. So it's kind of moving a little slow, but what we've been chunking out has been amazing. But yeah, how I got involved with Troma, it's simple answer. It was Zach Amico. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a comedian, actor, wrestler.
You mentioned him on Why Do I Podcast with that son of a bitch. And then I went and Googled him. So it's like I'm a total ignoramus when it comes to like Legions of Skanks and that whole collection of comedians. But now I do know who he is based on my Googling last night.
Yeah, before Zach he's the second mic for Louis J. Gomez's podcast. He's a hilarious sniper second mic, but I think his first foray into the entertainment world was working with Lloyd Kaufman and the Troma team on the remake of Class of Nukem High. Okay. They did a film called Return to Nukem High, and you know, I want to say that was the early 2010s, so around 2012 or so. And Troma films are big time productions, man. They don't mess around one bit. You know, they'll plan for months, like most good film productions actually do. You know, there's a whole lot of behind the scenes budget wrapping up and getting the talent in and stuff. So Zach used to work in the office over there, and he's just an extremely talented guy and also a very colorful personality. One of his other side things that he does death matches for independent wrestling. So he's the kind of guy who will take an actual fluorescent tube over the head, you know, for the love of the sport. So yeah, I was at the time, I'll keep it short, I was working a desk job. I started producing the Eastside Dave show here at Compound Media. I quit that desk job and went full-time into comedy and entertainment. And while I was doing that, a posting came up where Zach said, "Hey, we're looking for office worker looking background folks for this film." So I literally had a closet full of fucking office clothes that I wasn't using anymore. So I took all these suits and shit down to the set, and they were like using my suits, putting me in suits, using me as like a plant because I was tall, so I could just block like light stands and stuff, and was like just a really good extra. And then like the extra situation there isn't so great. They've got all these psychopaths coming from all over the country to be a part of the film and stuff.
Really?
So
that wasn't aware.
Yeah, they got a huge following. They have a huge following. Like there's people that will drive from anywhere or fly in from anywhere to work on a Troma
Spears
film.
is too highfalutin for them, Spears.
Spears
always demands pay.
I did put a bid in for Poultrygeist years ago. It would have been like my third or fourth movie.
Brian, do you know, were you doing some of the special effects, like the costume and the makeup?
I never worked for Troma, mainly because the first bid I ever put in for him, they thought I was kidding.
Yeah, it was too much.
Too much, yeah. And I mean, listen, I was definitely low because it was literally would have been my third movie. But, you know, I guess I was...
It's nuts. So we were over at the Troma office just recently because we do film stuff there all the time. They've got a green screen room in the basement, and then you have access to Lloyd to just pull his dick out and film something for you at a moment's notice. The trick is you always got to have a Monster energy drink and another female on your team, and literally he'll film anything for you. He'll read anything off of a fucking cue card, like Ron Burgundy. It's great. So we found I guess this is maybe the industry term. It was called like the Bible for Poultrygeist. It was this fucking huge binder, that looked like 3 phone books that
all
had
the continuity, everything. All the production
it had pre-drawings of costumes. It had all the bids from every DP that wanted to maybe do it, and their price and their conditions and the responses. Everything was printed out and three punched into a fucking binder, bro. So I poured over that thing, and it's fascinating. I'm gonna go take a look back and see if your name pops up anywhere in there.
Lloyd Kaufman is that guy, the patron saint of independent cinema. I mean, I guess everybody knows that now. Yeah, and he's like the one guy you could still go to a horror convention with a cell phone or a tape recorder, ask him a question right there, and he doesn't throw at you, oh, you got to go through my agent or my PR person. He's not sequestered away in a back room signing autographs. Like, we went to horror conventions forever, like starting in I guess the 80s or 90s when they'd be in the city, Fangoria Weekend of Horrors. Sure. And that whole thing has changed so much. But Lloyd Kaufman has always remained true to the fans. And, the guy's a genius.
And I did a movie where he was an actor in it. It was called Transfiguration. It's kind of like a little highbrow vampire movie.
I know that film.
I
know that film.
He was, he did a little cameo in that for fun.
Yeah. So with Lloyd and Troma over there, oh man, I had a point there and I lost it. That's great.
Well, I was going to ask you not to skip around, but go ahead.
Sorry, really quick. I got it. I have what I wanted to say, and you guys maybe know this or not. Yes, the weed is not going to keep me down, man.
Fuck you. Why do I podcast?
He is yeah, that's right, Kevin. You bum. You guys said I couldn't say slurs on here, so I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'm sorry. I had to. No, kidding. Love you, Kevin. So fucking Lloyd Kaufman was integral in the filming of the film Rocky.
Rocky, yeah.
Did you guys know that?
He was John Avildsen's assistant.
So John Avildsen thanks Lloyd Kaufman because John Avildsen won director of best director in the Academy Awards. Yeah. Best picture. Thank you. Sorry. Best picture.
I'm talking weird. Sorry, I'll cut that.
No, I think you are correct on that one. But nonetheless, during his speech, he fucking thanks Lloyd Kaufman because what happened was Lloyd is in the film too. I don't know if you know that. He's the bum that Rocky picks up outside of the bar and brings into the bar. He's the drunk bum wino that he puts over his shoulder and walks into the bar.
I had no idea.
The crazy thing is that the exterior was shot in Philadelphia and the interior was shot in LA. They wanted to shoot all of Rocky in LA. And they decided that they needed to get the heart of Philadelphia into the story. It made much more sense to actually film in Philadelphia. They didn't have any money. Lloyd convinced John Avildsen to come into Philadelphia. Lloyd brought his Troma line producers down from New York, and every shot of Philadelphia that was shot in Rocky was shot by a Troma production team. So technically, Lloyd says that Rocky is technically a Troma film. And now that's a big jump,
and I believe he definitely secured that spot because he was outside the bar and then gets brought inside so he could get a couple days in LA too.
Yeah, well, they said Avildsen. I've looked up an interview in the New York Times about this. Avildsen said that Lloyd paid for his own way out to LA, and I get it because that was the good times back then. You know what I mean? That was the real party times. And if there's one thing you know about Lloyd Kaufman, he is a true party animal, and not like in a sleazy, weird way. He just can fucking really lay down. And I bet you he was out there disco dancing.
Let's talk a little bit about Secret of Cuck Island is the newest, right? I know you were promoting that on some other things. Let's play. I did pull a preview, a coming attraction for it, but bear with me for one moment, and I will try to bring it up. This isn't the YouTube one. The YouTube one had a little too much man ass for my taste, but this is from Vimeo, and this looks like a wild movie here.
Yeah, go ahead.
You guys see that?
Yep.
Yes, we can. Yeah, looks great.
And you can hear
Johnny, it is you.
I said it was a New York area code.
Oh yeah, my boss bought me this phone. She put me on her plan. Whoa, you're rushing. Job?
That's my co-host of.
I got a gig today. I'm filming a Craigslist lady. She's
Definitely 5
Triple
low.
Pam.
Now come look at this. It's gotta be some
Long-time Troma lady.
industrial meat waste or old school mafia hit or worse, a bio attack. Whatever it is, it's polluting my home.
Buzz us up, please.
And who might you be?
East River Cleanup Committee.
I think you may have the wrong idea about some misplaced barrels of runoff from our cleanup efforts.
And I want all the people to
It's like a
see this.
found footage film, so all this is first person film. There's Zach. There's your buddy.
Nice gag. Who was that person vomiting? That looked like you.
That was me. I have this spiritual homeless person that shows up, kind of like the three ladies from the Three Witches from Macbeth, you know, where it doesn't make sense, where I'm just like part of it. And my story I come in 4 different times, I believe, and I kind of link the story along. But I was this maniac homeless man that in the opening sequence, I ejaculate, I shoot violent diarrhea, and then vomit all in a matter of about 7 seconds. That's
Merry
how the
Christmas.
film starts. Yeah, that's like the leading in scene. So when I was told that I was up for that role, I was like just completely so happy to be in the conversation. I got the role, and now it's become like this sort of like, this may be my career now, being like a homeless fucking just crackhead covered in vomit bum, you know.
Stevie Lew, awash in creativity. And you were saying like you're in the Compound Media studio right now, sitting in E-Rock's chair, which I hope doesn't get you in trouble.
I was invited here. I was invited.
This has been authorized. It's been approved at the highest level of Compound Media. But what are you doing? You're working on Bobby Tambora's new.
That's
is
great.
It new?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's fairly new. Yeah, I think we're working on
Bobby's World.
So it's renamed Bobby's Universe.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
gotcha,
we did
okay.
start off. We started off as Bobby's World, and then I don't know if you've heard of this guy Howie Mandel. But apparently he had some cartoon that was on like primetime television called Bobby's
Did you get
World.
the official cease and desist, like a letter to stop and all that good stuff? Or
We were trying to send it to him nonstop so that we would get that letter, and I don't know. He's hard to break through to one of these days. But no, yes, thank you very much. I am working with one of my partners in crime, a guy that I met on the set of the Eastside Dave show. He started off as an intern here at Compound on the Eastside Dave show, and now he's moved himself up to a regular producer here.
Oh, your audio just totally cut out there, Stevie. I don't know if you can hear me. We can't hear a word you're saying. Brian, can you hear him?
No, I can't hear him.
Stevie,
That'd
by
be
the way,
amazing.
was part of a great prank last night with our good friend Why Do I Podcast. He was interviewing Bobo in a live stream. Cardiff Electric goes live to review Stevie Lew's, Why Do I Podcast live interview with Bobo. Stevie Lew is in a corner filming Bobo. So it was so many levels
I had that.
very
I'm not
funny.
going to lie. That came to me in a stroke of, I don't want to say it, but like I had a stroke of genius there, and I started to snipe stream the snipe stream within a snipe stream.
I can't even explain it. I trailed off.
Yeah, it's hard to explain.
I don't even know what I was watching.
And the sad thing was that I chickened out, and as soon as they figured out I was doing it, I pulled out. And then when we talked about it after the episode, they were like, "Oh, you should have kept going." I thought they were actually. I didn't see the joke was really working as well as it was.
Well, that's what I'm saying here. Like, I know nothing about comedy. You know, I mean, by day I'm a local news reporter. I'm a small town news reporter, right? That's why this podcast is the most boring of all the Dabbler adjacent podcasts, because I don't know how to be funny.
No,
but
I love
the fact through like thank you. Through the Dabblerverse and Stuttering John and all this, I've been exposed to I didn't know any of this comedy was out there. All the stuff happening on YouTube. And you know what? It's for older guys too. Like, let's face it, this stuff appeals to me more than it would a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah, sure.
So like stuff like last night, watching all that stuff and seeing the comments, and half the time, I mean, I know the comments when we've done live streams, like you've been in there, the comments are funnier. The people on Twitter are funnier than I could ever be. And it's just so much good stuff going on there.
That was wild. Like, honestly, someone should make a fucking mega cut of that, because you could start with our you know, again, Bobo happened to be over at Stevie Lew Studios, which is my apartment, you know.
I was like, hey, that painting looks familiar.
Yeah, exactly. Folks who are in and really tuned in can pick up on that without even having to say it. But me and Bobo go way back. He lives about 25-minute bus ride, a quick bus ride on the express to my place. So I even I'll swipe him onto the bus on the way home. I'll get him some beers. We'll usually have dinner at my place, and then I'll have him cast. We've done it for Eastside Dave before, so that was a lot of fun. I think folks should actually go out there and check out the 3-hour interview that Kevin from Why Do I Podcast did.
3 hours.
3 hours.
I'm sure he's live right now. Actually, Kevin is live somewhere right now. He's just around. He's becoming a YouTube titan.
But even better is that someone's got to make a mega cut where you got to start with that, and then when Cardiff cut in, you have to put that on a dual screen because there was such craziness going on, man. Yeah, you were really right. That is a new thing that's coming out. We're having a good time with it, man. I think there's a lot of fun folks out there. And the cool thing too was I was watching. So as I'm trying to produce, I'm watching the stream on my phone as well and seeing the viewer count, and then seeing that Cardiff is going live, and then that the viewers started to go to Cardiff, you know, and then watching Cardiff screen, but then he pushed everybody back over. So I was literally watching live as numbers of viewers were fucking shifting back and forth. I was like, wow, this
Cardiff is such an evil genius, because clearly he was like, oh, I'm going to take, he knows it's the exact audience watching these two things, and he just comes on and takes everybody out. He's just such a little, I love that dude.
Yeah, whatever he is. We've been mean to him, I feel, on Ski Mask, but that's also part of the pecking order. You know what I mean? I know he's been around for a little bit, you know, and he's getting real hot hand right now. But as much as we can be friends and have fun on air, there's always going to be a little bit of some elbowing going on underneath the basket.
Let me ask you. Yeah, it is. It is great radio.
Thank you.
We need that. We always ask our first-time guests, because originally this was called the Mobile Horror Companion, started years ago, right? And it was horror-related, and then we got sick of talking about horror movies, and we wanted to talk about Howard Stern and podcasts and, other movies. But we would always ask someone who was on the first time, name a horror movie character you would most like to get drunk with and why, and then name a horror character you would least like to get drunk with and why. And if you can't think of answers, we can come back to it, but whatever.
What's the guy? Is it Crazy Fred from Nightmare? From Friday the 13th, the guy that goes, you're all
the old guy.
You're all gonna, yeah. What's the guy's name?
You know his name, Brian? I can't remember.
Crazy Ralph. Crazy Ralph.
Ralph. Okay.
Right. Crazy Ralph. Yeah. There's a death curse. That fucking guy that just starts yelling at the kids.
Wait, you want to get hammered with him?
Yeah, he seems like he's a good hang, man. He's gonna start saying some really juicy words.
You'll have a Compound Media show by the end of the episode, whatever.
Yeah, Crazy Ralph needs a show on Compound. That's hilarious. No, but I mean, have you ever been out to Lake Life area? You know,
it's where we grew up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you go upstate a little bit out to Pennsylvania, you kick your feet back, you drink a few Schlitz, and you say some things.
So everyone's got, you go upstate New York, up I-87, and suddenly everyone's got Confederate flags in New York State. It's like, where the hell am I?
Yeah.
But
so that's the guy I would like to drink with. And then the person I definitely don't want to drink with is Saw.
Okay.
Good.
You know, that Saw thing. I never liked that thing.
Me neither. I don't get it either. Yeah. All right, then we had talked when we had exchanged messages, and you guys really know this more than I do, but we had talked about maybe what are your top 3 Gore movies, right? You guys are Gore guys. Spears has been doing freaking Gore since we were little kids. That's the thing. We've known each other literally since preschool. He's my only friend in the world.
Yeah. You guys are from Westchester. Did I get that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from New Rochelle.
Oh, hey. I went to freaking Iona. I know I'm probably doxing myself, but whatever.
Iona Prep?
No, the college.
I went. That was my high school. So.
Oh, no kidding! Look at that.
Doxing myself here. Oh shit.
All right, who wants to go first? Off the top of your head, what are the top 3 greatest Gore films of all time? Or maybe we'll go one by one. Brian, do you want to go first?
Well, see, I didn't really
hit one. Don't do all 3. I'm producing as we talk. What's one?
The Thing.
All right. Can't argue.
Yeah, there's John Carpenter.
Yeah.
And who was that? Rob Bottin? Oh,
Rob Bottin.
We're losing Stevie again.
Fuck. But it's almost an unfair choice. You know what I mean? It's almost unfair because it is it's also one of the greatest special effects. I don't know if it's, it's the granddaddy. It's a high mark.
All right, Stevie, what's your number 3?
When that beast. Oh, okay. Can I ask you guys something now that you brought up that film? What do you guys think about, Brian especially, what do you think about the ending of that film? Have you heard that there's theories out there that they're saying that one of the two guys was actually still the Thing at the very end? I
have the Dark Horse comics back from the 90s, and they kind of say it was McCready. So, you know,
right, I think the inside theory is that the bottle of whiskey is actually gasoline and it's not whiskey, and he just sips it without, making and that's how he knows that he is the actual beast still, and he has to settle the score. All right, we went a little deep there. I'm sorry, but that's cool that you're into that. Yeah, for me, my one is Dead Alive, Peter Jackson.
That was gonna be my.
I'm sorry, Brian. I knew that was an easy one.
But when you talk about like a gore movie, like Dead Alive is more of a gore movie than The Thing. And I think Dead Alive is in its like a category all its own. It is probably because it's also a good movie and it's fun.
Sure.
It's everything you want a movie to be, and it's way over the top, like gory.
It's best like comedy gore.
Yeah.
Too. And I don't know if you, just like you said, using Lloyd Kaufman's books for advice on how to pull shit off. I've gone off of the Peter Jackson, strawberry jam theory in my time before to make something that really needs to be silly looking gorish, something like as simple as that. And that's what I hear that they used a lot of on that set, which is great. I don't know, for the folks out there at home, if you don't know, a lot of times.
I got really drunk at San Diego Comic-Con once. I was there doing a job, and the guy right next to me was Richard Taylor. Richard Taylor was the special effects artist for Weta. Him and his wife created Weta, but they also did Dead Alive. And I met his wife outside, and I knew who she was. And I was like, "Holy fuck, you did Dead Alive!" Oh my! And then I realized her 3 little kids were standing right there next to her. But she thought it was so cool that someone makeup artists are not that recognizable. Unless you're like a Tom Savini, you know what I mean? Like they're not household names. So she thought it was so cool. And then she even told her husband, and she came up to me later on that week and pointed her husband out to me. And so like, this is the guy, he's our neighbor. And, he was like the nicest guy in the world. So like Dead Alive, man, that's a great choice.
So we got Dead Alive and The Thing. Any others?
Well, we did Dead Alive as a Bluntsmoker video.
Is that your first episode?
I'll have to go back and listen to
it. It was like the second one, I think.
Okay.
It was the second one. Yeah, we're having a good time with that. Yeah, I mean, all of the, especially the early Wes Craven Nightmare on Elm Streets have a lot of really good blood gore. That's one thing that I'm always usually picking up now on is like what the blood color is on scenes. I feel that like early horror was suspect with a lot of like bright blood, but as someone who, and Brian, I'm sure knows all about this, like you have different temperature colors of blood depending on how long the blood's been out. If it's like, a murder scene, it's a little darker.
Also the camera affects the color of the blood. Now when you're shooting all digital, you have to it's better to make it darker because it has a tendency to read more red, where then you're all of a sudden looking like Sam Peckinpah red, and you don't want that.
And you don't want it too liquidy, just you got to have a viscosity to it, which becomes a problem when you're trying to spray it. A lot of times it starts to gum up the works, and you could test things all you want, but then when it's time to go and you set it up and then you push, and then you see the assistant director and the DP kind of look at you like, what the fuck is going on there, pal? And you got to have the idea of resetting a blood spray scene. It's kind of harrowing work sometimes. It gets your blood going, gets your heart racing. It's kind of like a bloodlust, not to be silly, but
The pause is everything. All right, look, we've been at this almost an hour, and if I'm gonna have to edit this shit, we got to. I said 2 more movies, but I'm taking it back because we got to talk about. I mean, really, this is the clickbait we're going to use, or the hashtag we're going to use to get people to actually watch this video. Because ain't nobody watching this podcast unless we're talking about Stuttering John Shuley, Chad Zumock. Who are these podcasts? I mean, all content we consume, and I think I like talking about it. But this week was one of the craziest, at least since I've been observing the Dabbler universe. from the side. And I don't even know if I guess it's considered dabbler, sort of. Dabbler adjacent.
Yeah.
But the podcast wars, Chad Zumock strikes back. That would be my title for what happened this week on Twitter and on YouTube involving the great Chad Zumock.
But by striking back, he was really just kamikaze piloting himself into the ground, into a warship like Steel Toe Radio. That's basically what this guy's been reduced to. And
he went full dark. He went full dark force. What the hell?
I think he can go a little further. He could just like commit harikari, live on one of those sit-down Zumocks. I would love to see it. I can get him the blade if he needs. I'll send it right down there for him. But I think that this guy, he's saying that he's going to get sober in 2023. He's going to be a YouTuber. I honestly think he's going to end up in retail. He's going to end up in rehab. Yeah, he's going to end up in retail. He's going to be working at a Blockbuster Video.
They can get a lot of credit cards.
Yeah, there you go. No, he's going to be either in rehab, like inpatient rehab, maybe a mental health sort of scenario where he might get committed. I do not see 2023 working out for the guy.
You don't sound like a Chad Zumock fan from what I'm picking up here.
I got to say, to be honest, I'm not. And he's personally come after me now. I know I maybe kind of stepped in it a little bit because I had some things to say about him going after my friends. Because I know you said like this is one of the craziest things you've ever seen out of him, and it was up there for sure. But those of us who've been following Chadwick for a little bit, Chad Anthony Zumock? Yeah, Chad Anthony. He has been doing these sort of psychotic meltdowns fairly regularly. There's like a cycle to it. So you guys happen to just be catching this new wave of meltdown,
And just for anybody who doesn't know, let me just fill people in. I mean, you're probably, if you're watching this podcast, but just real quick, Chad went off this week because we do get a couple of hate listens from people who like Marvel movies. There's like one or two who listen to us just to hear us badmouth Marvel movies, and they might not necessarily follow Chad Zumock. But Chad went off this week in a series of live streams and tweets attacking April, the co-host from the Steel Toe Morning Show on YouTube. I thought the breaking point, because Chad's been picked on, right, for months now. Who are these podcasts?
Picked on, they make fun of his content. They're picking on him. Like they're bullying him. He's a public figure.
They've been clowning on him.
He puts his shit out there, though. Yeah. I put my shit out there. I get clowned on. I'm not threatening to try to do sex acts to another comedian's wife. That's not what I do. I don't start bringing up another comedian's ex-wife and his children. That's not funny. That's not comedy. There's nothing funny there.
And did you see what he was doing today?
Oh, God, no.
Today, all right, so we're recording this Saturday, December 10th. What he was doing, he went back, or he didn't go back, but he took photos, or he retweeted, sorry, I'll get this right eventually, images of Aaron, from the host of Steel Toe Morning Radio, his ex-wife, right? So his ex-wife has a Twitter account. She's like a children's author or something like that, and sort of like a God-fearing woman. There's some tweets she had about, some night, and he's retweeting her stuff.
But that's
pictures,
just
it's her and her kids, 4 young kids, very young kids. And I'm like, well, far be it for me to say what's funny and what's not, and what's over the line and what's not. But that is just straight up scumbag, no backbone bullshit there. I don't get it. But then again, I don't know what I would do if I had, who are these podcasts doing a weekly segment on me? Steel Toe Radio doing a segment on me every other day. And then the one that I forget about, Anthony Cumia, who's clearly Chad's hero, clowning him not relentlessly, professionally on Twitter and his own show. That's got to be a lot. I'd probably just delete my shit and run in a corner, run under a table.
The problem is he hits below the belt. If he actually was funny,
right,
maybe he could come back. That's where I don't follow it as much as you guys, but I am been following the Chad. I watched a bunch of his comedy this week, if you want to, and that's my issue.
Right.
I just don't think he's a funny guy.
No, I've given his stand-up time and time again chances, like from what I can find of it. The dry bar special is it's just not funny. I'd say any reasonable person would not laugh at anything that's said. So, and he's always talking about how he's a comedian and Jim Florentine loves him and he opened for John Lovitz. All right, that's great, but...
So I'm actually going to go, I think, a little deeper into this on the next Sad Chad, but I might not. So I want to get this out now. Do you guys know anything about this dry bar comedy company?
I mean, they do seem just from a quick reading of it, it looks like it's a Mormon type, total. And you've brought this up before and made really good points about why would he go on that.
So I looked into it further. They're this thing called that the parent company is called Angel Vids. Okay. And Brian, you're going to fucking love this. They have been sued by every major studio because what Angel Vids, the company that runs Dry Bar, does is they take.
Oh, do they edit?
They edit them out. They edit scenes that are not wholly out, and then they re-rent them out to Mormons. So they're taking fucking people's work and they're clipping it down and removing little, maybe not swear words, but things that don't fit with their morality out of the major film and then re-renting it for a fee for their own. And they've been sued to stop, but they claim some sort of religious fucking protection.
Yeah.
They're able to get away with it. It is the most scumbag shit, garbage, fuck that extreme religion bullshit. No offense to anybody who's ever been involved with Dry Bar as a comedian, but you are a fucking moron and a loser for doing any business with that company whatsoever because they are fucking conservative.
Except Ray DeVito.
Cock-sucking slugs that steal and blood suck and are leeches. So anybody who didn't know that going into their Dry Bar special, shame on fucking you for not doing your research. But second of all, shame the fuck on you for working with that company that uses religious fucking reasons to take artists' work and clip it down and resell it. When I found that out, bro, and he's bragging about it, that he got paid blood money out of the pocket of real artists who had their shit fucked with and resold to do his special Dry Bar, and it sucks, and it's gotten him nowhere.
On top of that, the big thing, it wasn't even funny. If you're gonna sell out and do something like that, it wasn't even funny.
I thought Chad was having a moment earlier this week and even last week. He's on with Cardiff Electric. That went reasonably well. It felt like Chad was turning a corner. He was on Misery Loves Company this week, drunk, throwing the credit cards at the. I was like, all right, I liked him on Misery Loves Company.
Kevin Brennan is like my family, my comedy family.
He's a guy.
You'll never get me to say a bad thing about him, but I had questions about why he's been doing it. But I feel that now maybe there's a bigger reason why he's had been putting him on, because I always love the thing where you don't go and strangle a guy with rope. You just give him the rope and he hangs himself. So I feel like Chad's been given this situation where he's fucking literally hanging himself with a rope in front of us all right now.
And it felt like, all right, so Brennan and Levy, actually, let's play a quick clip, because my thing is, it seemed like for whatever reason, Chad seemed to be having a good time when Levy brought up Steel Toe on Misery Loves Company, going back 4 or 5 days, right? And they had previously mentioned April, Steel Toe Radio co-host, the wife of Aaron, right? They host this thing together.
I love those two, by the way. Let me just get that very clear. I'm a new fan of them, and they've been really cool with me and very responsive.
They're nice people. They've featured us. Aaron's chatted in our chat once in a while, and we're nobodies. He's
funny, and he's playing the game right.
Right, and that's a whole. We could go on and on, I guess. I mean, I don't know anything about building an audience or anything like that. I'm lucky if I get 100 views on YouTube, but I'm looking at that guy, and that guy's really working. Like, he's not begging for money. He's doing a 2022 revenue stream. That's what you have to do to try to make a buck in 2022. It's not like Chad always badmouths that, and I just don't get it. And the fact that, like, I was raised on Howard Stern, right? So when you're raised on Howard Stern, you're taught to hate all other radio, all other programming, especially morning radio, local morning radio. This couple out there in Minnesota is taking a local radio show and making it national. And I'm like, I should hate it, but I like it. So whatever, I definitely team Steel Toe. I'm not listening for 4 hours and stuff like that. You could argue that Steel Toe started this by going after Chad unprovoked. They're doing that, but it's a thing.
They were lightheartedly making fun of his show. Just to be fucking really clear, at the beginning, they were laughing at him for being a shitty broadcaster and a bad comedian.
They weren't calling the Bahamas, trying to get him kicked out of the Bahamas.
Well, okay, that wasn't them. I do maybe know who that was. And I never said much about that. And I don't really want to say much about that.
I'm not even asking about it. Yeah.
No, I get it. Let's move on.
Yeah, so let me just play. Oh wait, I still got Cuck Island up from about 20 minutes ago. So here is episode, and this is from Patreon. Like I'm just doing this. I hope I'm not violating any code of ethics of the comedy community. But this is from Misery Loves Company. That was from earlier this week, but it was just released, and the title is "Lipless Fuck," which might be a reference to Chad, I guess. Yeah. Bear with me 1 second. Sorry, guys.
Never heard them.
No, I know. I used to listen. I don't listen anymore because.
What about Steel Toe?
I don't listen anymore. By the way, if I listen,
good.
If I listen, they win. I don't listen.
Have fun with it. Listen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be fucking.
I win.
Yeah, you should go on Steel Toe and make them give you any of the super chat money because you'll get a lot of money.
He'll do it.
Because they want to have you on and then say, okay, but I got to get the super chats.
But what?
Okay, so that was earlier in the week. Wanted to play that real quick. I don't understand how we went from Bob Levy, the Reverend Bob Levy, Kevin Brennan, Ray DeVito. I love Ray DeVito. He's had me on his podcast twice for some reason. I spent Thanksgiving with Ray DeVito on his podcast at 7:00 at night. It was my best Thanksgiving ever. But you know, Chad's even having fun with it. He's drunk Chad. How did he go from that to then literally like a day later saying, I'm going to screw your wife is mine. What the hell, Steve? What was the breaking point there? What happened to Chad this week?
I think it's a chemical imbalance. I'm no physician. I don't have a degree on this wall, but no, this is in my office. No, I don't.
Bobby Tamburo does.
Bobby's parents are actually doctors, so he's a smart boy. Maybe I can ask Bobby's mom about what's wrong with Chad Zumock, and maybe she could help. I know Dr. Steve tried to get in there, and he doesn't really know the situation too well. And Dr. Steve is the man. But yeah, I do think that Chad is bipolar, manic depressive, flip-floppy bipolar. And when he was on with Kevin, he was happy, fun Chad. He gets drunk. That's like his little secret that I don't know if he really is very forward about. He has a few skinny girl martinis whenever he goes on air with Kevin because he feels looser that way. I get it, Mm-hmm. I used to be that way too, man. I'd always have a beer or two before I go on or while I'm having a podcast. And I've come to try to stay away from that and just harness your actual real talent and your real energy and let it fly, naturally without having that liquid courage. Because that's what I think happens is that Chad just gets absolutely wasted. He probably drank that whole episode, drank that whole night, woke up and was still drunk. And then saw that Steel Toe was fucking making fun of him, and
he just went off.
Yeah.
Let's watch. You guys want to watch a couple of minutes of one of his live streams? So Chad's been doing these live streams at various times on YouTube where he's walking around his neighborhood. It's bizarre, and then he immediately makes them private or unlists them. It's very strange.
So if you're out there, make sure you snipe away, press record whenever you see.
So here's Chad. We don't have to watch this whole thing. And if you want me to pause it, just say so.
My basement and pretend like I'm on the radio.
Okay, pause it.
Pause.
He said pretend. He said he's trying to say pretend, and he said I don't pretend that I'm a radio host. So there you go.
And he's also going on YouTube live, like the same thing that he's complaining about he's doing right now.
Well, that's the thing with Chad. I don't understand. Why does he have to say, hey, Chad, we're all the same. We're all a bunch of nobodies at the, unless you're Anthony Cumia or whoever, Joe Rogan. I mean, come on. We're all in the same league here. I don't understand why he gets so insulted.
I guess
you were on radio at one point. Good for you. But I mean, Jesus
But it was
Christ.
Cleveland radio.
Well, it's more than I've done.
He was a third mic. He wasn't a host.
That's what you're doing. That's who you are. And you're exposed. And you don't like it. I was in your head all day long yesterday. I caused problems in your marriage. April, I will make it my existence. I will make it my mission to make sure you knew this was a mistake.
He's walking in circles. Do you see that? He's pacing and he's shouting. The people of that neighborhood must be frightened. If there's a school nearby, I'd be fucking yo, there's an active shooter potentially stalking our neighborhood right now, and he's screaming. into his podcast thing.
Right. It's like, yeah, we need police and social workers as soon as possible, please. To Delray, whatever that avenue is that he always talks about in Florida.
Dale Mabry.
Dale Mabry.
I know it, but I know it now. So something's working, Chad. I know what Dale Mabry is.
Right. Yeah.
All of this was a mistake. He drug you in there. If he loved you, if he cared about you, he would never have made you a co-host. He would never have brought you into this world.
Okay.
He would never expose you to all this shit. You drew first blood, not me. Okay? I'm John Rambo.
I'm sorry. I can do this all day. First of all, when he says that they drew first blood, that means that their little ribbing hurt him. He couldn't take a small little bullshitting about his shitty broadcasting ability. That's all it was to call it first blood. So he responds with all this over the top bullshit. And also, Steel Toe didn't drag April into this. This is some bullshit that he wants to make up this story that she's being like manipulated by this guy. She is a willing participant in this show. And sadly, it looks like what this fucking creep said Chad Zumock has done recently is going to take her out of the show, or it's going to at least have them rethink how they approach the show, which I think is sad and unfortunate. But I also respect that decision to do what they have to do that's best for them, you know?
And they did say today they've posted their last Chad video, which was a recut of something from earlier in the week. And they say they're done with Chad at this point. Just another
walking through a town, and you guys
we'll take care of it. Don't worry, Steel Toe. We'll take care of this for you. Don't worry, buddy.
Yeah, there's always sad Chad. Ski Mask Collective, I don't think is going to stop anytime soon.
Also, let's just don't say you're John Rambo. John Rambo was an American hero.
That's true. Yeah, you're a bad dude. All right, so let's what fictional character is closest to the Chad Zumock?
I love it. Like Bob Levy is definitely Brian Dennehy's character.
Or even if you take it out of First Blood, like even in the whole, what would I don't know? That's
you got to listen, John. You can't be going after that man's wife, John. I'm telling you, it's not all bad. John.
Smoke a couple of blunts and then come back to that question.
Fucking with me, fucking with my life. You pretend like you didn't get personal, but you did. And guess what? These are the repercussions. Feelings are being hurt. That's what's happening right now. Your feelings are being hurt. Yes, I am going after your family.
Wait, let me just hold on. We just got that one part is just critical.
Yes, I am going after your family. Or, well, it's not your family, April.
Well, no, you are. He is going after her and saying that because she's a stepmom, she's not a real mom, or she's a pretend mom. I mean, Jesus, dude. But you're not getting. And keep in mind, this is the same guy. I mean, we did a broadcast on. I guess I won't play any more of that. But we did an episode about Chad where I had gotten a copy of his arrest report, right? Because I felt like, and not because I wanted to dox the guy, which I didn't, or really, it was. Of course, it's none of my business. But just as a fan of all these different shows,
Ski Mask had taken care of that previously, you know what I mean, as well. It's not the first time it's out there.
Right, and I had reached out because I had tried to find out because I had it for like a month, and I'm like, did anybody ever look into this? Because he's given all these different explanations, and what if we just go through it? So, I mean, Chad did reach out, and he said, we had an exchange on Twitter, and one of the points he made was that, that's personal. You're messing with my personal life, and I would argue that, well, crime by definition is not a private matter. That's what courts are open. The documents are open. That's one of the basis of our republic, of our democracy. It's by definition not personal. But then he's complaining about this being don't be personal, but I'm going to go after this woman because she's a stepmother. That's just bizarre to me, and not funny. Now I sound like I'm a fucking preacher. Sorry. You gonna say something there, Brian?
He's complaining about, but he also wasn't being truthful about some of that stuff. He was making.
He was completely lying. And I guess now I have righteous indignation because when I did that episode, I went through all his thing, and I've looked at police reports now for 24 years, almost every single goddamn day. It's not the first police report I've ever looked at or had to explain to somebody. And he came back on Twitter and he said, "You got this wrong. You don't know what you're talking about." My heart dropped when he said that because the last thing I want to do, and I don't care, this is pretend world, and it's a podcast, and I'm Carlos Danger, but the last thing I want to do is put out wrong information about somebody who's been accused of a crime. I just, that's not, and my name's attached to this. I would not do that. So I reached out to his attorney. I said, hey, I'm a reporter up here in Connecticut. I also do a podcast on the weekends. Here's the arrest report. Here's the disposition I found online. your client that you represented says I'm not right. Let's clarify it. And I told him I would apologize to. I told Chad I'd apologize to him. I'd take the video immediately offline, and I never heard back from the attorney. Like, so everything that we reported, as far as I know, was 100% correct. And since then, though, I will say, just real quick, I'm just because this has been brewing in me.
Exclusive? Did you tell us already out, or is this...
I've never really I mean, Brian knows. But like on the video itself, I took off Chad's name. I took his response, because I had put his responses in the video, to be fair. Brilliant. I took that out only because, like, I don't want to be the guy you Google his name and you get my shitty podcast. I do believe when, like, somebody commits a crime, he has paid his debts to society according to the court down there in Florida, so I don't think it should haunt him forever. But now I'm like, man, this guy's a dick, though.
Well, also at the beginning of that
Why
episode,
am I feeling sorry for him when I'm watching that video?
Well, that's what I was going to say. At the beginning of that of that episode, you were not against or for Chad, but you were willing to, give him the benefit of the doubt. Like,
right, because sometimes, what I had said was sometimes you get arrested for stuff, and I don't know, credit card stuff especially, you could be using an ex-girlfriend's credit card and you broke up and all right, you used it once, technically you weren't supposed to, and there can be, like, explanations for it.
But not every
Chad's explanations do not add up. They don't add up. I'm sorry. As somebody who's
every time you get arrested, there can't be a new crazy explanation that mysteriously also, if you listen to the explanation, he's always the hero in the situations. You know what I mean? When he had stalking charge and an order of protection, he was like saving some woman's dignity or something like that.
He was popular in high school.
Yeah. He says he wears it with a badge of honor, having been arrested for breaking an order of protection and stalking.
There is, I mean,
How? Just like these credit cards, I hate to say it, we got the audio of his excuse for what
do you mean you got the audio? I've never seen that. That's from Ski Mask?
Don't worry, I'll send it over to you so you can take a bite into that one. Okay. He released a $30 Patreon level.
Oh, I didn't know that happened.
So
I'm sorry.
I wasn't going to pay $30. No, it's fine. No, just so you know, I wasn't going to pay the $30. Like
you're breaking up.
So it was $30. Am I back here?
Yep. $30 Patreon for Chad to hear his explanation of the credit card stuff.
I wasn't going to pay the $30, but 6 of us threw $5 down, and we all ended up making a fake Patreon account and got it, and then spread it around. And I was like, oh, this is going to be juicy, and it's not. It's like he just says it was maybe mistaken identity, maybe, but he doesn't even like explain that whole thing, and that there was bad detective work done. That's the only thing that he comes around on, is that there was a guy that looked like him that was doing it, which I love that. He said that.
I mean, come on, you read that police report. I mean, come on. Yeah, and I at the end of the day, I wish nothing but the best for the guy, even though, in real life, I don't want to see anything bad. I
said I hope he Harry carries himself.
All right, so I'm not quite there.
Well, but I just wish the guy would be funny.
Yeah, Brian.
That's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line.
This guy is funny.
This would be great if he was just funny. If he responded with something funny.
If he was angry like a Kevin Brennan, he'd be a genius. You know what I mean? Like if he came back with smart retorts and came back with a little bit of, but what he's saying when he's walking down the street, that's just nuts. You just don't do that.
And I think and I don't mean to make this about Chad, but
we only made like a third of the show about Chad.
I swear to God, it's like he can't do this. He's crushed by the fact, this is my armchair theory. He's crushed by the fact he has been rejected by Anthony Cumia, right? That guy, he's a legend. Chad has him on a pedestal, and rightfully so, for everything. Cumia's done comedy over the last 30 years. And I think he can't take it out on Cumia, so he's just going after Steel Toe. Like, it's just total misdirection because he's so hurt by what Cumia has done to him.
He's an injured dog, just lashing his teeth out.
What about now? I saw on Twitter, though, he has had some support from people on Twitter, but I don't know who these Twitter accounts are. Is that like, I started to think like, is that like Red Bar pranksters playing with Chad or has Steel Toe built up? I mean, they do, a lot of their show is goofing on people. Is this people who've been goofed on in the past that are coming after Steel Toe and align themselves with Chad, or Alicia Jordana? they just had a whole run-in with her and her fan base. And are they? Like, who are these people supporting Chad?
I can help you with a few of them. I know for a fact there are people that are so upset with Gino Bisconti that they are backing Chad, and it's become like WWE wrestling. You know, where like that's my favorite wrestler. So anybody who's against that wrestler, I'm gonna go against. You know, there are a lot of these strange corners that have formed. You know, because of this all-out bloodbath war, which has been great. You know, I mean,
it is compelling.
We're in a new golden era of, you know, death.
It's better than any movie on Netflix right now.
Right.
You know what? I was gonna say before, I think that your Marvel fans, the people who come here for the Marvel stuff, like you should check out this multiverse out there called podcast.
So much more
way
interesting.
Of saying it. That's a perfect summation because, again, as a guy that's not in this world at all, and like the O&A thing skipped me because I wasn't listening to the radio at that time in New York. That's or like that at that hour. And then I followed Stern more than I followed. Sure. So I went that direction. But then this whole other universe that I've discovered in like the last couple months, mainly because of a Stuttering John stuff. But it's this whole like little weird world. And it's just opened my eyes to a lot more.
Everybody's
funniness.
swatting each other. I'm going to swat you later, Spears, by the way. I got it all planned out. Let me close with this, Stevie Lew.
Sure.
And I should have asked you about this before we went on. I did send you like
said,
a little.
How is your internet connection?
Whatever. I'm fine with being public access. That's one thing. Like, you know, we're just having fun here.
Thanks for bearing with me, guys.
You famously had a meltdown on the Eastside Dave show, right?
I'm feet away from where that happened. Right now.
I am completely unfamiliar with the background. Like Brian just said, I won't, belabor that point. But I did watch the video for the first time. And do you mind if I play for you? Obviously, you've watched it.
Yeah, I mean it's a 9-minute clip,
just,
so you know,
just like 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
You know where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say, as I watched it, I was on your side. I was like, hell yeah! I'm glad that this guy. I mean, I'm glad you didn't actually physically hurt anybody. Yeah, but I was like, I was Team Stevie on this one, which will probably, it's probably wrong, but.
Oh yeah, you got the spot. You got the cue.
That's what I will do. Don't you fucking
Stevie!
try it. Don't you fucking try it. Stevie, stop! Stevie, whoa! Stevie, stop!
So, all right, that was that. And there were repercussions, I guess, from that, right? You lost it. My point being is not just to exploit that for views or what have you, to put you on the spot, but you're somebody that, like, you did that. You lost your temper. You beat up a desk.
It's a big desk. It's like a broadcasting desk.
The first time I saw you on Ski, it was like you and Stancil and Ski Mask. And I was like, these are not guys. If I saw these guys, I would like, if I saw them in a bar, I'm like, I'm gone. I'm staying away from that side of the bar. Something bad is going to happen if everyone's drinking together with that crew. But like, all right, so you went too far. We're talking about Chad Zumock possibly going too far in his response to getting goofed on by all these different things. What would you, do you have any advice for him as somebody who came back and is now, that's all been smoothed over. So what would you tell Chad? What can he do?
Set me up great here. First of all, I wanted to say a good thing to do is, and you can do this, the entire catalog of Eastside Dave on Compound Media is currently uploaded on YouTube for free on Eastside Dave's channel.
I'm watching that in a few minutes.
Yeah, someone reached out to me a couple of months ago, a fan, and I'm sorry I forget exactly who it was on Twitter, but a fan reached out and was asking me, and I was like, yo, look, Dave secretly uploaded all of the episodes chronologically. So you can literally watch the Stevie Lew saga from the day that I started to the day that I broke that desk and the aftermath, if you ever did want to, which is pretty cool. So first I wanted to say that. Secondly, I wanted to say that thank you for mentioning, because I am at Anthony Cumia's studio right now, and I cannot not say how much Anthony Cumia means to me and the whole world of comedy and how great he's been to everybody here. So I can't not say that. And finally, yes, I learned a lot from that incident, man. I feel like I've tried to learn how to temper my reaction and to never get super over the top with my reaction and always try to be funny You know what I mean? Just like always strive to be funny over anger. And, you know, it's a piece of advice you could use when you like fight with your loved one or family or fans out there on Twitter. Never try to go for the unfair neck cutting thing, like knocking a desk over or talking about someone's children and their ex-wife and stuff like that. Always try to be fucking funny. And if you can't do that, then you don't belong in the business.
Yeah.
So that's that. Let's end it on that. I want everyone, whoever that might be, but check out Stevie Lew Lewis. He's got a podcast called Bluntsmoker Video. Wow, what I worked at a Blockbuster back in the day.
I worked on the one on Mamaroneck Avenue in Largemont in Mamaroneck.
Jesus, I used to go there every day after I would commute home. I'd get man, that's wild. Look at that.
I probably rented you videos, man, because I was there during that.
You know what I used to do too? This is gonna get, but I have late fees. You know, I was a broke college student, so I would go in when I would return my movie. I would just put it back on the shelf because I knew like you guys would have to do inventory.
Yeah.
I returned that. I got out of my $3
We're gonna
late
return
fees.
a video. If you just came in and you were nice about it and you like weren't a dick, we would always just waive the fee. If you came in and you just weren't a prick about it, we'd just be like, all right, don't worry about it.
All right, so on our we'll have you on again and we'll exchange Blockbuster video stories. I also worked for a mom and pop that was run by a guy who embezzled $365 million and ended up doing federal prison time.
Don't tell Chad about that because you're gonna give him ideas.
He was a better criminal. But anyway, check out Bluntsmoker Video. Follow Stevie Lew on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
At Steve Can't Lose.
All right.
I'm Stevie Lew Comedy on Instagram, but Steve Can't Lose on Twitter because there's a long story behind that. So,
but that's that. I'm Carlos Danger for the purposes of this broadcast. That's Mr. Brian Spears, and that was Stevie Lew. And we'll see you next time on Insufferable Bastards. God damn it.
Everything's garbage. This is actually funnier than your dry bar special. Oh, bungee jumper, you're mean.